Good evening and welcome to 7 News. The biggest strike action in almost 20 years is set to bring Australia's busiest iron ore port to a standstill.
Workers at BHP in Port Hedland could walk off the job early as next week, costing the big Australian big dollars.
A powerhouse of the Australian economy. Every day 1.7 million tonnes of iron ore is shipped out, but 450 workers are now threatening to bring this to a grinding halt.
The workers have had enough, they're standing up and they're fighting back.
Workers have voted to strike at BHP's Port Hedland operation, Australia's biggest. They'll need to give 5 days' notice to down tools for up to 24 hours at a time. The demands: better pay, safer conditions and equal contracts. Tradies say they're being paid between $150,000 to $200,000 a year.
There shouldn't be wage disparity of up to $40,000 in the Pilbara or anywhere for people doing the same job.
A strike could cost the world's biggest miner more than $120 million a day. Add to that a $7 million hit to the state in lost royalties.
Our most important economic asset is being held hostage.
It would end almost 20 years of industrial peace in the Pilbara.
And the first of its kind, as I understand it, since 2008.
Federal Resources Minister Madeleine King says she doesn't oppose strike action.
We don't want to see the government handing over the keys to the unions and union officials, and that's exactly what we've seen.
The vote follows months of failed negotiations. BHP says it plans to ensure operations can continue.
We encourage both parties to seek agreement and compromise.
The clock is now ticking for the union and BHP to find some common ground, but so far they've only been able to pencil in a potential meeting. If they can't work something out, the big Australian could be facing a port shutdown as workers walk out the gate.
If there were to be a really good enterprise agreement at one site, you would expect that workers at other sites would be looking to do the same thing.
There are tens of thousands working in the state's mining industry. Not everyone's digging in.
Their take-home pay is quite considerable compared to, let's say, the locals here in Perth.
What about pay?
Look, you can always look for a bit more, but like I said, I came over here and got my certs and stuff like that, and I'm happy with what I'm getting at the minute.
But the picket line is looming. Francesca Danuccio, 7 News.
Pauline Hanson has bid farewell to Perth after her whirlwind trip west. The surging support for One Nation is gaining traction across the country, whether it's from a billionaire or from everyday Australians.
Heady days for Pauline Hanson. These protesters have forced a late change of Melbourne venue this evening for a One Nation cocktail party fundraiser.
We had too many bookings, people wanting to come, so that's why we had to change the location.
Not because of the protesters?
Oh God, no. Yeah.
I thought we've arrived at Melbourne, not Pyongyang.
Last night, the One Nation leader was mixing it with supporter Gina Rinehart and guests at the billionaire mining magnate's new Perth base. Rinehart, the donor behind Hanson's $1.5 million plus personal aircraft. This as One Nation claims spectacular success from ordinary Australian donors to its Fire the Liar fundraiser.
This whole debate is a smokescreen for the fact that they are actually run by the top end of town.
Late this afternoon, the party was claiming its play to the Prime Minister's broken tax promises had drawn way over $3 million from more than 50,000 donors.
We might just move the banner so that we can get into some rough and tumble politics.
The Environment Minister says by opposing tax changes, One Nation is the enemy of working Australians.
They oppose the very change that we're trying to produce that would make life better for working people.
And Angus Taylor has discovered a new trap for senior politicians, asked to simply name the electorate he was standing in.
I'm going to focus on the future of this country.
Do you not know the seat?
We'll keep going.
Seriously, do you
we'll
not
keep
know
going.
the name of the electorate?
We'll keep going around.
In WA?
The opposition leader eventually conceding he didn't know. Tim Lester, 7 News.
The shock resignation of Britain's Defence Secretary has landed like a bomb in London and here in Australia. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is politically a dead man walking tonight, and the future of AUKUS is facing fresh scrutiny.
With Penny Wong and Richard Marles less than 48 hours ago, John Healey, a solid ally.
We're delivering together for our country's security.
Tonight, he's quit with a parting shot at his boss, the British Prime Minister. You have been unable to commit the resources that the nation needs to defend the country at this time of rising threats, he wrote, telling Sir Keir he could make the country less safe. Claims Britain is not spending enough on defence despite war in the Middle East and Europe. That's not what Keir Starmer has been promising.
My first duty, the duty above everything else, is to keep our country safe.
Another brutal blow for a PM already on borrowed time.
That is a laser-guided missile that he has fired straight at Downing Street, and it's hit its target.
I think it's incredibly difficult for the Prime Minister to survive.
His main rival, Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, campaigning for a seat in Parliament to launch a bid for Downing Street as early as next week. Britain's allies left in the lurch. Richard Marles's joint tour of a British naval hub today cancelled. The AUKUS deal in choppy waters again.
I've literally been left standing at the altar with not a nuclear sub to be seen.
Richard Marles tonight calling John Healey his good friend. Our defence relationship is enduring. Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Raids on stores selling illegal cigarettes have forced dozens more to close under tough new laws. 7 News was in Rockingham as the latest fell victim to the crackdown. It came as police investigate a robbery at another suspected illegal tobacco store.
Police searching for 2 fugitives after a worker at this tobacco store in Carlisle was threatened with a knife. She wasn't harmed, but the men made off with cash and other items just after midnight. Thieves wielding a knife as government officials wheeled shutdown notices. This store in Rockingham, the latest to feel the heat.
Apparently there was someone being arrested.
Shutdown notices slapped up, a cloud of doubt blown away.
It was a cash-only cigarette shop.
The closure, much to the relief of nearby businesses.
I had been expecting to get a phone call saying your shop's on fire, but hopefully it doesn't happen now.
Customers left to find a fix elsewhere.
It's pretty disappointing, really, frustrating. But yeah, we've tried all around and we can't find anything.
The health department has been on a blitz. More than 40 stores shut, 11 this week alone. This business in Balladura, one of the latest. It had already been shot at and set alight 3 times in the past 18 months.
I think great to see so many shut down so quickly.
The shuttered stores will be closed for 90 days before being allowed to reopen. But the laws are set to get even tougher, with longer shutdowns for stores that are busted, as the government tries to butt out the illegal smoke business. Brandon Demura, 7 News.